All set? Okay, welcome everyone to the Tuesday, January 13th Audit Facilities and Operations Committee in the Carmel High School Library Office Room. We will begin with public comment. Okay, I just want to switch two quick items. It's a quick one. The grant writing services update. Mr. Silver, I just want to move that to the top.
Sure. Before Alterra?
Please, yeah.
Okay. I need Dr. Gorman for that. Okay. So there's two parts to this. So you can pull out the long sheet that you have. So we went back to the drawing board and we looked at other options for grant writing services rather than the company that we proposed to you last time. And so we interviewed BOCES, Dr. Gorman and I interviewed BOCES, and we interviewed somebody who is a private person who worked with him managing existing title grants. And we came to a conclusion that we want to break this into two parts. One part being BOCES. BOCES will provide us with 150 hours of grant writing, new grant writing, not managing anything we have, all new, looking for, they look for corporate as well as educational grants, federal, state. And on the last page of that long sheet, we would be proposing to go for this $19,000 150-hour grant service. This would provide full services. They will propose grants to us. They don't write the grant or do the grant until we approve it. And this is aidable at our BOCES rate of 67%. So this $19,000 will cost us about $6,000 overall. They're not a part of the grant. They write the grants and they propose them to us before they do anything with them. They submit them and they track where they are in terms of the grant approval process. That's one part. The other part is a woman we met who worked for the Tarrytown schools, where Dr. Gorman was assistant superintendent, and she managed local grants that were already there, but only the title grants, meaning mostly special ed related grants. She made sure the paperwork was done on time, made sure the submissions were done year by year for the renewals of them. It doesn't take much, and her cost is about $2,000, $2,000 to $3,000 for the year, not aidable. She's a private person. It would just be a contract for a number of hours. I'm just talking about, maybe you could pick up just talking about the person we interviewed.
So when I was in Tarrytown for 6 months as the interim assistant soup, there was a lady that did 30%. She worked in two different districts, 30%, and did grants. Her name is Tina Kelly. She helped me manage all of the title grants. She told me where money was. She helped me run meetings at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year to set goals. So when we were going through this, I just said, I'll give her a call and see if she's available. I had no prior knowledge of her until I walked into that district for 6 months. And she was awesome. She told us that she could possibly contract to help manage those grants for about $100 an hour or maybe 90 hours. And once those hours are set, they would be set. She then followed up on her own, told us that we had about $6,300 in immigration money that we had to use this year by the end of the year and had to file for an FS10. So immediately I felt comfortable with her possibly consulting with us. Again, I don't know her from anywhere before. I just was in the district for 6 months and she was presented to me and helped me out. What I have noticed is that the title grants are a lot of work, and there's a lot of carryover money, and there's a lot of different units represented. And I think that we should really be putting our money towards programs for the people that are labeled as Title I students. And I don't think that's, from my outside in perspective, has always happened. We've used that money for things that don't necessarily meet the needs that are acceptable, but I'd rather go back to really what they're for, those funds should be dedicated to them. So.
One example was supplies. We're using that money for supplies. We shouldn't be using that. We should be using it for programs for those people who qualify for these types of grants. So our plan is to separate these two things. One is to the management of existing programs, and then BOCES aidable for the second part. Superintendent has met with us on this and is on board with what we believe to be the best plan going forward.
Thank you.
So, yeah, if you guys want to go first, I have a couple.
Up to you.
So just really quickly, I want to understand a little better how we approach a project like this in terms of, I know when we met a week ago, we were looking at a $38,000 charge for one particular service. And I asked the question at the time because under my understanding is anything over 20,000 under our policy 40501 should have gone out for an RFP. And in fact, we didn't put this out for an RFP, but we did look at other options, and I really appreciate you guys doing this, and this does sound like a really great step forward. And we ended up coming back to something that cost a total of $28,000, or a savings of about 25%. So I think that reiterates why we have an RFP process and why we want to go out and look at competitive bids. Because we started a week ago with someone who, granted, one of our ASIs had prior experience with, and that's great, and the recommendation is valuable, but it's not an RFP process. And a week later, we now have a different solution that's based on someone that a different ASI has prior experience with. Not a lot, I grant, it's not a long-standing relationship, but it's still not an RFP process. And I understand that. Let me stop you before we say, okay, technically this is now split into 19,000 and 9,000, and even though it's
2,000.
And okay, I thought we had said 90 hours at $100 an hour.
Yeah, she said it was just a screening conversation, and then I came away with good feelings of it. She did say that, and then she also prefaced that if she put in extra hours, her rate would be her rate, which I appreciated. That candor.
And I think that's very valuable. And I do think this sounds like a good approach, but I think it does reinforce in my mind why we need this transparent and open bidding process for things like this. Yes, I understand. You can say, well, technically now each half of this is smaller than 20,000 and we don't have to go to an RFP, and that's true. But I think we have an RFP process for a reason, and in the spirit, if not the letter of the policy, I think we do. I still would like to see what is out there and what an open call for bids would get us, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Anything from you, Trustee Magliano?
No, I'm going to agree with Trustee Wise. And you see just how far we made it in 1 week. Last week, we were sold on a complete different situation. And now we're just questioning. We're back to this. This is all the information I would like before it's presented.
Right,
As a whole.
and maybe last week it was presented too strongly, because really what I want to work on with these gentlemen here is using this committee, not just to prove things, but also to vet things and explore the possibilities. So that's why this committee is so important.
No, and we're all for grant writing. It's been a subject talked about for years.
Yeah,
But this is something that could be as effective as we make it from the start and who we choose. Thank you, sir.
I think on this one, it's sort of, it's a nice unique piece. The RFP would cast a net, right, for all. And even though we'd be bound by lowest bid, but it also allows, in this case, flexibility to break it up. But it would cast a bigger net on things that maybe we're not aware of. I do like resources that we know about that are good, because sometimes they appear to be one thing, but they're not always the other. And I think that's really important.
Thank you.
So you would like to see an RFP?
I would like to.
Can I ask one silly question? And maybe it's an experience with an RFP, and say we do. Are we bound to the lowest bidder in that situation or the best fit? Okay,
Right.
so it's not like we have, that's all I just want to,
Right.
because then we're selling ourselves.
People who do the
Okay.
exact same thing and that we would certify we're comparable, yes, we would take the lower price. But we could absolutely consider.
But if there's
past
one
experience,
marvelous
right,
versus
exactly.
the other one, okay,
The
we
lower
are.
price will be BOCES, because of the A at 67%. So no
Appreciate
matter
it.
what we do, this will be the lowest price.
Thank you.
Okay? Mr. Curzio?
So,
Yeah.
on
I
that
think-
note, I think there's a consensus. We can have an official RFP.
Yep.
And then it can be brought back to this committee and we can move it forward from there.
Strongly.
That's good with you, Trustee Magliano?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Okay. Next item is safety and security, and thank you as well for the presentation on that. We appreciate you gentlemen bringing that to us. The safety and security, Altera's in-person presentation.
So
And thank you for bearing with us for that first discussion.
Absolutely.
Much appreciated.
Thank you for having us here. My name is Brian Shanahan. I'm the Senior Vice President for Alteris. We've been working with Alteris since inception, since 2008.
Chris Blackwell, I'm a consultant for the district. I've been working with Carmel since December of '22.
So the work that we've done on the consulting side of things, we do your emergency plans, we do training, we do some follow-up with, making sure we have compliance. There's always new things that happen from NICIP as far as compliance is concerned to make sure that this district is at that level for safety on the consulting side. What we found over the years, and we did during our assessment process a few years back, was there are a lot of improvement opportunities that really need to be addressed and done. Some don't cost anything, which is always good to hear. So things that we need to move forward as far as, those planning pieces and working with the district, boots on the ground, having somebody here beyond just the consulting side. So the goal of what you have in front of you today is the proposal for a 3-day-a-week coordinator. That's a person from Altera's boots on the ground working in the district 3 days a week. Those days could be flexible depending on what works for the district. Currently in the Hudson Valley, we have 40 on-site coordinators that work in school districts. And they basically do, and I can read through it or you can read through yourself what we presented in the proposal. I gave you all a folder as well. It really dives deeper into what the roles and responsibilities are. A lot of the folks around this table and a lot of the folks that work in your district just don't have the bandwidth to be tackling a lot of these items. That's where our coordinator on those 3 days a week would be able to be working with building specific as well as the district as a whole to bring you almost to the next level, if you will, as far as safety and security is concerned, to address any needs that come up, to also be available as a different lens, if you will. So all of our coordinators that work in districts are past law enforcement. Typically, we want retired law enforcement with that held some type of rank, sergeant or above. This way they have supervisory experience. We also do a whole vetting process before we even present with the candidates. So ultimately, all the roles and responsibilities that you see in the packet, from being participation in each of the buildings, as far as training, as far as meeting with the teams, evaluations, being a part of the drills, all those compliance pieces, you'd have that service like I said, 3 days a week. And for candidate purposes, once the district makes a decision to move forward, we wouldn't just hand you somebody. We do a vetting process, and you'd have the opportunity to interview at least 3 people to make sure that they're a good fit for the district, that personality-wise, work-wise, and that you would be the ultimate decision maker to say, okay, this is the right person that we want to have working with us. If for any reason during the process that you choose a candidate and you think 6 months down the road, this is not the person who we thought it was during the interview process, we will give you an opportunity to replace that person. So you're not, when we have this, the whole process is to get, like I said, the coordinator position in place. Once you have that, we work very closely with the district. We also have, like I was mentioning earlier about the 40 coordinators, it's a team. So although you'd be getting a 3-day-a-week coordinator, you'd also be getting a team of not only our consulting side, but those other 40 coordinators. We work together as far as any incidents that may occur in the area. So if we get word something's happening, immediate notification, but work through any other issues that may be going on and have the support from those other coordinators. Hey, I need this or I need that kind of a thing. You would basically be getting all of that team behind whoever it is that you would be making a choice for. Any questions that you might have if you go through the process here, a lot of this has to do with compliance, because we know it changes, and that's challenging just at the building level. To make sure the buildings are up to speed beyond what the district approval or district process is, that the principals and the administrators of the buildings are confident. Even recently, with the new DESH's law, We have to make sure we have the AED compliance and the training. Even that kind of thing would be something the coordinator would be working with each of the buildings to make sure that they are up to speed and everybody's confident as to what the next steps would be, as far as any of that's concerned. Communications as well, emergency communications, even though you have a public information person, I'm sure that would be dealing with that. It's kind of a newer facet. We talk about public information and assisting with that public information to be as transparent as possible should an incident occur. Following through, being responsible also for FERPA and things along those lines. And the other big piece that we spend a lot of time talking about is threat assessment. We deal with threat assessments all the time. Those are those preventative measures. Even though they wouldn't be here potentially 5 days a week, but even that 3-day-a-week coordinator is available, as well as our team obviously is 24/7 with you. But that person who would have that intimate knowledge working with the buildings, potentially, if we had an incident, that person would be right on working with the threat assessment team to assist. Now, take over, but to assist and guide is necessary, and that is such a big piece these days as far as preventative purposes and making sure we avoid issues, but also reinsuring that our students get the recommended mental health that they may need to prevent some of these issues from happening.
So speak to us, Brian, a little bit about the neighboring districts that also have coordinators at their district. Do they? Who are they?
So, just close by to you, I have my list. We have Arlington, up the street. We have Somers, thinking close by, Katona Lewisboro, kind of as we go down. I can most certainly provide you the whole list. And even in that, I can provide you a list so you can even reach out to counterparts to see, for yourselves and speak to boards and superintendents how they utilize them. But our coordinators of everything I kind of explained, it's just the tip of the iceberg when we talk about what our folks are doing in some of these districts already. Dealing with the lockdown panics, assisting to deal with the lockdown panic systems. Anything you have improvements under the safety umbrella for capital projects, they would be intimately involved helping to coordinate research, come back to you potentially as a committee and report. Just showing an example, but talking about new blue lights or something along those lines with the lockdown panic system. Here's the research that we found. Here's what we have to report back to you. That person, that coordinator will be doing a lot of that work for you as far as that safety umbrella, if you will.
Does your client list for this service include any other Putnam districts, Brewster, Mahopac, Putnam Valley, Haldane, or Garrison?
None of them have coordinators at all.
Mm-hmm.
They have their, many of the districts we work with have school resource officers. So I say that because some depend on the SROs doing a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they have a different role when it comes to the security of things, not so much dealing with the safety improvement opportunities and the project management kind of pieces. But I don't know any other Putnam district that has any coordinator, not from us or for anybody. They kind of just have their own safety people that have a lot on their plate.
Mm-hmm. And is there an actual contract for this, the coordinator service? Obviously, we have the proposal in front of us, but an actual.
Yeah, so that you have this piece here, the modified service proposal.
Yep.
That's basically potentially the overview of the contract. The wording in there is basically your contract is what you would see contractually, and the addition that you may not see. That's why I provided the handout in the folder that you have, and it gets into further as well in the folder. I give you a little bit more expansive of what those roles and responsibilities would be, and then just our handout, our sheet, our booklet here. There's probably around page 4 or 5 gets into a little bit more too of what the program coordinator, the safety coordinator program also entails.
Because the reason I asked about that, potentially we could have a vote on it tonight, but I think we would have to have an actual contract that we would be voting on as opposed to a proposal. So,
It's all right.
Mhm.
We get the contract and get that to you. We wouldn't want to rush you.
We spoke about doing this for the 27th. I spoke to
Yeah.
a gentleman about that, and they
Okay.
said that's perfect for them
Mhm.
to have somebody boots on the ground around March 1st.
okay.
So if you have the full contract as you're talking about, you approve it, we have an onboarding process, because we never are just taking somebody and saying, oh, well, we think you're a retired law enforcement, you do great. We do a full background onboarding as far as these compliance pieces that we talk about. Chris working intimately with the schools, he would be working with that person as well to help get them acclimated. And to your point exactly, it would give us time that if you were able to do your approval on the 27th, we would have boots on the ground here March 1st. And your days, we spoke already with the superintendent, this could be flexible. Just because it would be part-time 3 days a week, you may potentially have schools that say, well, I have a meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have a meeting Tuesday, we can flex that.
Mhm.
And if there is anything when it comes to many of our coordinators, just a side note, as we talk about like after hours and things along those lines. If something were to happen after hours, like a large game, and you want that, our, coordinator to be present for something after hours, that most certainly can take place as well. This is not a person who's gonna punch a card and be here 8 hours to say see you. They are available to you and they have that flexibility. So we want them to be a part of that whole safety piece.
Thank you.
I always found that they were also available after hours on weekends that you can call. So if you had an emergency
Mhm.
where, let's say, a student sent another student a threatening message over the weekend that has implications for the school day, collaborate with them and have more than one person on a weekend working that, making sure that all things are done correctly,
Mhm.
which is very important.
Thank you. And going back to the contract piece, another reason I think it's important that we actually see a contract. You mentioned, sir, the SROs. Obviously, we have SROs in 2 of our buildings, SPOs in the other 3, all under the authority of the Putnam County Sheriff's Department. So just defined in different roles and responsibilities of both your agency and what the consultant would be doing versus what the SROs and SPOs would be doing. Who would be your point person with the different law enforcement agencies in Putnam County? I know you said that if we approve it, we would be the first district in Putnam to do it.
So that's like, yeah, an on-site coordinator.
Yeah.
So that our on-site coordinator would be would be reaching out to fire, police,
Mhm.
whoever, Sheriff Hess, I know very well. I work with him very closely with the real-time center. When I was in my law enforcement
In
days, school
Westchester
resource
County.
officer in Westchester. Now that he's here, he would be, our team would be, I would be point of contact overseeing your coordinator.
Mhm.
And lucky for you, I could walk here, as a resident, but I would be working with them closely as well. But our coordinator would be the point of contact with Putnam County.
Thank you. And what agencies, so you mentioned that the coordinators are retired agencies. I know Sheriff Hess came from Westchester County Police prior to being the sheriff, so I assume you have folks from Westchester County
All over.
Police.
All over. You name it in the state, as far as state police, FBI, we've had retired folks from all areas of law enforcement. So, but again, they're truly vetted in background and onboarded. Our process is literally 3 to 4 steps before they even sit down to meet with us to make sure background-wise, they're the right fit. Like I said, we would never put anybody forward to you unless we knew we were going to stand behind this person, they're going to be a good fit. And then you obviously would have the opportunity to interview at least 2 to 3 people.
Excellent. Thank you. Gentlemen?
So first off, I do want to thank both Ken and the superintendent for bringing this forward at our last meeting and you guys for the presentation. I do see a lot of very real value here. In particular, as we look at coordinating response plans between the buildings, where those are handled at building level now, having someone who 3 days a week on working with the different buildings to make sure they're aligned, to make sure we're not missing something in one versus another, that's incredibly valuable. I can see this driving better training throughout the district because that's something we've struggled with sometimes in the past. And I also love the idea that this has a 24/7 response capability. I do have to ask, because we're looking at a $98,000 contract. That is over the $20,000 number. So was this put out for an RFP before we came back to this
Well,
process?
here's the thing, Jim, is that we're already using this company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we would be extending their services, which again, the RFP process is done through BOCES, right? So I think we would have to have a conversation on, when BOCES does an RFP, are we able to utilize the services because the RFP is done? I mean, I don't know of
Yeah, I think
another,
that's a
right, fair?
I think that's a good conversation to have because from our point of view, BOCES is a vendor. And it's true that BOCES is in fact a clearinghouse that brings us other vendors, but we would be signing a contract for some amount. And I think it's fair to the taxpayers to make sure that if there are other companies or other venue directions we could go in, that this is the competitive bid. I actually think it is. I think that's very likely to come out of this, just looking at the work we've done with Alteris to date. And I think in a sense, there's more bang for buck here as well, because frankly, we haven't always used the services you guys provide. A number of times we've had things come forward to the board and we've asked, well, did we consult Alteris on this? Well, we have them on this consulting basis and there wasn't necessarily time to get this yet, but we're in the process of that. So having that 3 days a week, this is incredibly valuable, and I think this is a great way to approach it. I do just want to make sure that when we go back to the taxpayers to fund this under the budget, that we can say, we looked into the options and this is the best way forward.
Okay.
So we will not be able to do this then by the 27th. If I'm being asked to do an RFP
Mhm.
for what is already an RFP through BOCES, just like with grants, we will not be able to approve this on the 27th. We will not be able to put that
Well,
together.
What's the
Maybe
time frame for it? What would
We
be?
have to, we have to get the boilerplate to do the RFP. We've not done this type of RFP. We would have to do that and then get it out on and advertise it.
Let me ask this, Mr. Shanahan. What would be the length of the contract that you would recommend to us? Was it a yearly
Well,
contract?
it's year to year.
Right, so what, would this one be prorated until July 1st?
Yes.
What would it be? So Jim, would it behoove you for us, in order to be expedient and not miss an opportunity here to improve security, for us to utilize these services, and then for us to do a full RFP July and be prepared for that? We could even do it before July. But I just think
I think
time
that's
is
a
of the
good outcome.
essence.
But I would like to confirm with legal, given the way our policy and state law is written, that this keeps us in compliance
Okay.
if we go for it that way.
Mr. Silver, I know we didn't get to finish our discussion. What's the time frame on an RFP from start to finish with something of this nature?
It'll take us a week or so, I guess, to get it together. And then it has to be a minimum of 5 days out on the street,
Okay,
advertised. And then we have to evaluate it and then recommend it back to this committee
Mhm.
and then get it on an agenda.
So we're
So it
talking.
sounds like the superintendent's suggestion is a good short-term solution to this.
Yeah, I guess
It's a
that's
suggestion.
the right question. Does the RFP just mean we come not on the 27th, but on the first meeting of February? That's one picture. If it means this is going to go into March, April, June,
No,
that's a very different
first meeting in
picture.
February, we could do that.
So,
But then that would hold up because they can't pull the trigger on somebody. And I don't know whether you're going to be able to get somebody with a guarantee of only a few months in a particular contract.
yeah, so looking at the calendar, February 10th is the first meeting, so we're talking about a difference of 14 days. I don't know what the right answer is, but I think we have to keep in mind, we're not talking about this running past the school year.
Well, this is your committee, and we want to do the bidding of this community. And, inconveniences will be what inconveniences are. But I just want us to understand that my biggest concern is getting them on, getting a coordinator on board as
I
soon as
think-
possible.
Mr. Silver asked a very important question. I just didn't want that to get lost in the mix. What is the probability of being able to secure someone this late in the school year? And of course, if it's pushed to after March 1st, as far as an onboarding.
Right, we're talking about timelines.
Mhm.
Once we have the go-ahead, that the contract's signed, we'll have to figure at least 30 to 40 days before you have boots in the ground.
Okay.
So I just want to understand
Mhm.
that if we were to go for an RFP and find another company, that everything they have in place and have put in place for 3 years would be gone, and we would be starting with a new company from scratch for everything we're doing.
Yeah.
Just need to keep that in mind, that everything we've built in safety and security would be replaced by another company.
Trustee Magliano, if you want to weigh in.
I'm not sure how I feel about the RFP, honestly, but I do see the importance. And I think we've proven in the past couple of years, just with our safety and security bond, how much the safety of the students does mean to us. I think this is a really important step in getting our money's worth out of what's already here and unifying. I do think it's a good idea. And whether it's short-term, long-term, 1 year, I think it's necessary.
Yeah, I strongly support this. I do want to emphasize, I think this is necessary. I think if we did go through end of year on an ad hoc basis and then pursued this for the renewal, again, the goal here is when we ask people to vote on the budget in May,
I
that we're able to say, look, this is not only the right service, it's also something that's we're being responsible to the
But
taxpayers.
the goal is also safety and security, far more important than grant writing, where every day matters to have this, now that we've lost the person in my office who was managing this for all this time. And so now there's a lapse that we're trying to fill as quickly as we can. And so we need to be cautious about making a move away from this.
No, and that is a piece of it. But the other piece of it is that we have a group here that has a proven track record of success, and I don't want to, mess around with that. We have a question from the fair lady in the back.
Could you tell me who the person was that was managing this for the district? What position was that? Because that's a very important thing.
Yes,
What
So,
position
well,
is,
managing it is me.
No.
It was
You
Debbie
just-
McIntyre who was,
and what is their position?
she was confidential secretary. That position has
that
not been
a-
filled.
Is that a civil service?
Yes.
Thank you, that's what I'm.
Did I cut you off?
No, we're fine.
That's a good question. Why you over, like, say, another company or BOCES? What makes you the standout company?
So many of the companies that are out there that do what we do, and I can do, like I said, it's not a sales pitch, just give you some facts, don't have the experience, don't have the the team that we have, both working from the consulting side, carrying that over, working with the coordinator, finding the right people that are those professionals. You have folks that have been, in the past, you've used some services that, in all transparency, we've had to clean up over the last 3 years. You were told some non-compliance pieces over the last 3 years from people that you've worked with in the past. I'm just going to be very careful, professional is what I'm saying. So there's a lot of time that was invested to get to a level where you're at. So that would be one comparison to a group. Many of the other groups out there just don't have, they'll talk to you about, I can give you a security director to help you with safety, but don't have the full understanding of what it should look like building to building, how that compliance work. We work very closely with SED to a point where the folks at SED are annoyed by us because we want to make sure we have the right answers. So if we have somebody working in a school, they are doing the right thing. We want to always be in a position that if you ever get audited, that if somebody were to say, we want to do your safety audit, that you will never, you come out with a gold star, you'll never be questioned like, why didn't you do that? You're not in compliance, because that's part of the passion, that's part of the work ethic that we have. And usually get about 50, we were posting for this position, we'll get 50 to 75 applicants. We will wean through until we find maybe 3 to 5, and if we don't like them, we'll go back to the drawing board and find the right people to be in here, and we back our folks. A lot of folks will not tell you that for a 3-day week position, they're gonna try to pair you with, potentially pair you with another district, because it's very difficult to find somebody for 3 days a week. We find the right people, whether they wanna work full-time or part-time, and if we find the right person that's willing to do that, you're not gonna be in a position where, hey, sorry, we can't come there Tuesday, I'm in the other district, I can't help you right now. You're gonna have somebody that, our hope would even be, and I know budgetary wise, it's very challenging in a lot of schools, but I will tell you, we also have and that's why I implore you I'll give you a list, you can speak to other districts, because I don't want to sell it to you. We've had folks that started at 2 or 3 days a week, and now they're 5 days a week, because they know they can't live without the ability to take a lot of things off the plate of somebody who's trying to get other things done in district, and we're specifically dealing with safety and security rather than having
What we didn't say is that a portion of this is aidable.
correct,
We have to say
consulting
that.
side.
The consulting side of this is aidable, so that's some $25,000 of it is aidable at the 67% through BOCES.
That's new information since
The
last
rest
night.
of it, is not aidable.
But there is a part of this that is aidable, so that's a positive development of new information.
Yes.
Excellent. Are there any questions from members of the community? Okay. Well, I do want to thank you, gentlemen, very much for your time, for
Sure.
taking the time to meet with us. This committee and this board places a premium on the security and safety of our, not only our physical buildings, but of our students, our staff, visitors to this school district. And we want to do everything within our power to ensure that this is a safe place for people to be. And to Trustee Magliano's point, that's why we were happy to invest in a safety and security bond was that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And that's why we are happy to bring you folks on. I was happy to support bringing you folks on a couple years back, and we've been very satisfied with the work that you've provided for our district. And we look forward to our continued partnership. I think the superintendent's recommendation is a very solid, good recommendation. That's what I would be in support of in order to get these gentlemen in place to ensure that there is no lapse in the remaining time that we have in this school year. And then we can, to your point, Trustee Wise, we can put out that RFP for the full school year. But at least for the remaining part of this school year, at least we have a plan in place. I know there's going to be some other questions and some other discussions in a different, that are more appropriate for a different setting. But again, in the meantime, I want, again, thank you, gentlemen.
If I may, I just want to agree that I'm strongly supportive of that approach. I think it is important that we not have a lapse in this process, especially hearing that we had a civil service position that was taking an outsized role in this, perhaps. And so I will say, going forward, I would certainly hope that when we see something of this size come to us, this will be just a box we check. Did you guys do an RFP? Of course we did. But I don't think that's a reason to hold this up.
Thank you. And I definitely think we can make improvements in that area. And like I said at the last meeting, I think one of the things that has to happen is, it's important that we slow down these processes so we ensure their fidelity.
Yep.
That will
Totally
help us go faster in the long run.
Here. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Silver. Thank you for helping to lead this discussion and bringing this recommendation forward to this committee in conjunction with the superintendent. We very much appreciate that, and we
Yes.
look forward to moving this forward in the days and weeks ahead. So, thank you.
So we'll be in touch, Jason.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
Okay, moving on to the transportation component of our meeting. Actually, before that, I didn't ask the public if they wanted to comment at all about the grant writing service. Any?
Just as I'm raised the same question that I raised at Saturday's meeting and also at the last audit and finance meeting.
Mhm.
If the title grants are something that we're already doing and we're already managing, are we missing out on money there? Because title grants, as far as I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, and Dr. Borman, if title grants are not special ed grants. Special ed grants are IDEA. Title grants are, am I wrong? Are title grants special ed grants?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think if we're already doing that and managing that, I thought the focus should be, and like I said repeatedly, on a grant writer that finds new money, right? And I thought last year that the former superintendent brought up, we were gonna use BOCES, we were gonna use BOCES, we were gonna use BOCES, and then there was a reason why we couldn't use BOCES. I mean, I thought that's what was discussed at board meetings. But again, I think, I appreciate the idea of having an outside entity manage title funds, but those funds we're already getting, right? I think, in my opinion, I was thinking that when we were going for a grant writer, when we were proposing that service, we were looking for new money, not necessarily title grants.
It's a blend of both.
Hmm?
It's a blend of both. The title grants are complex and new grants are a need and a want for the district. I think they're both.
But are we missing out on monies from title grants? I guess that's my question. Like, are we missing something?
No, we're not missing out. I think moving forward, my administrative assistant is leaving. She does a lot of that right now. She manages a lot of those pieces. I've worked with that other person who knows best practices in title grants. I haven't been here long enough to know that we're doing everything we're supposed to do with that, with forms, with FS10s, with meetings at each building, with meetings at the end of the year, setting goals, allocating and moving money from professional development to Title I, to Title III, to Title IV. I think all of those things are important to have somebody helping you lead that process.
But that desk is being filled, so when that party vacates that desk, another body comes into that desk, which
That would
could be
not be one
transit.
of, that would not be one of their responsibilities,
I just
in
don't-
my professional opinion.
The other thing is that, look, the title grants, the New York State reporting is becoming so much more complex. We just want to make sure that we're satisfying all the responsibilities that we have to work with New York State to get every dollar that we can. That's the other piece here. That's why I'm interested in this, because, you know, when you hear that there was immigration-related monies that was left in the bin, that's a serious concern for me. So that, and look, we're gonna go back and explore this further, and I think we're gonna come out on the right side of it with the help of this committee and you know, the input that we got, and I heard you Saturday also speak about this, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the transportation component of our meeting, site upgrades at transportation facility. Mr.
First, I
Silver.
want to point out that we had a Transportation Advisory Committee meeting on Saturday, and Tony Kelly, sitting here, is on that committee and was with us, as well as being at our budget advice, so she spent the morning with us. So she was the only one from the Transportation Advisory Committee who was present as a community member. So you have three things in front of you. One is a site plan for the transportation facility. This is a proposed site plan. It needs a little bit of tweaking, but it does show that we are increasing the size of our capacity to park and move buses by about 6,000 to 8,000 feet, going back behind the fence, behind the fences where those green dots are. That's the site plan. This plan will move the buses away from the neighborhood where the bus is being started, creates problems for the neighbors. The back of the bus is just right over where the people's property are. This will move those buses away and will provide new fencing all the way around the property, as well as paving. I guess must be a couple of acres that are right now just item 4, or gravel. We've had several accidents with employees falling there. It's a mud pit. It creates a situation where the bottoms of the buses rust out faster. And we know that providing a proper paving area will increase the life of the buses and therefore also decrease the service that we have to do. So that's the first part, what we want to do. This involves no construction. This is just site work. The second thing is a proposal from the architect, which we also reviewed on Saturday. This proposal is for $60,000, them to do all the work for this project. This $60,000 would be paid from the general fund now, but will be repaid to the general fund when the project begins. This project is using the third part of what you have. This project is using some of the capital reserve money of $3.2 million that has never been used. Over the years, this money was put aside in various budgets to be used for certain projects and was never used. It's now $3.2 million. We cannot add to it except through interest earned on the money that's invested. And this had been contemplated to have been used up in 2024, 2025. This capital reserve started in 2015 and it had a 10-year life to it. So after the life is over, you can't add to it, you can only use it. It can be used for any capital project. This project, we don't know exactly the cost, but we believe that it will be somewhere in the vicinity of $2 million. This $3.2 million can only be used with voter approval. It would require a separate proposition on May 19th for the voters to allow us to use this existing money that has been sitting there for a number of years. So there'd be no effect on the taxes, no effect on the taxpayers. It doesn't go through the general fund, and it is state aidable at about 60%. So this $2 million, we would get about $1.2 million back over 15 years, which is what renovations, the payback from the state education department in state aid is over 15 years. So in essence, we want to improve and make this site safer. It will improve the life of our buses. This $60,000 would be paid up front and then move into the capital reserve, so there'd be no cost to the general fund for this. The voters just have to approve the use of this money as is required. And we would put a limit on what could be used based on what the architects came back with in terms of what the anticipated price would be. Questions?
So I really hate to sound like a broken record, and I'm hoping the answer is yes, check the box and move on. This is a $60,000 architecture contract. Was this put up for an RFP?
This is
as
our
part of the
district,
process?
this is our district architect.
I understand, but it is a $60,000 additional
But-
contract, right?
They are the architects for the district for all projects for the district. So that's a 5-year contract, renewable every year, but they are the district architects. Just like Labella is the architect for the projects, the capital projects that are in the budget we're in now for the $850,000. This is the district architect's proposal.
So is this covered under their existing contract, or is
Yes.
this a new spend?
Each project that they do, the contract calls for a separate proposal because we don't know what the cost of any project would be. So anything they do for us comes by proposal. We have proposals from them for other things going forward, but we're not bringing those forward yet. So this is the first proposal from them to do work.
Yeah, so that raises, again, it comes down to reviewing this with legal, making sure that this is comfortable under our policy, and that makes sense.
Can I just ask what in the policy you would be questioning in this, so I can understand?
No, I'm just trying to understand, we have a policy 4501, which the president has left, but was on the policy committee, as was I when that was approved, which describes the exact circumstances under which any new contract we're signing has to be based on bidding or not based on bidding.
So this is
and-
not a new contract. We already have the contract with the architect. This is a proposal.
And that's my question, is
Services.
when a new spend that we agree on as a new proposal is, or is it a new contract? I'm hearing that this isn't, that's fine, but I do want to understand where that line is. Thank you.
Mr. Silver, is there a breakdown of what that $3.23 million entails?
You mean where it came from?
Mhm.
Yes, there is. Well, I actually brought it to this committee previously, but we can certainly bring it again the next time we meet.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Mark,
I think I have one more thing to add to
Remember
this.
from years past.
Yes.
They always put $100,000 in for projects that each school used to do.
Yes.
We used to do that years back.
Mhm.
It stopped. So this is just that 100,000 kept going in, kept going in, kept
Yep.
going in, and the people that sat in that seat prior were like, didn't know about it. So
Interesting,
that's where that money came from.
Excellent.
thank you. That makes it a lot clearer.
Just myself and Mr. And thank you very much. Myself and Mr. Silver had talked briefly about the structure of the advisory committee for transportation before. So I just wanted to update you gentlemen on the fact, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have a lot of community interest in attendance at these meetings. And it's not limited to just the last meeting, unfortunately. I know, I think the meeting prior, there were 4 of us, and 2 of the 4 were sitting board members at the time. So it puts the committee, our committee, in a funny spot because it's tough for us, and of course, we appreciate your time and expertise, but for us to accept a recommendation of the advisory committee of 1 or 2 people, when people ask about that in the community, well, how big was your advisory committee? Oh, well, there were 2 people on it.
but we invited 20.
Correct, yes. And it is not, and to the superintendent's point, it is not for lack of trying.
Yes.
So even this last meeting, the superintendent, Mr. Silver, they actually put out a survey to all the community members, which dates would work best for you. They received the responses. We went with the date that worked best for the most amount of people. unfortunately, we didn't, the attendance did not bear out. It may be worth considering for this committee as far as how to move forward. If that community interest does not exist with that committee, to dissolve that committee, and we can, for instance, tour the facility. We can, Mr. Silver and any other parties, the superintendent can show us these recommendations in person. We can then discuss, have a meeting on tape and discuss in public what the recommendations were. And then we can either make a favorable, unfavorable, or amended recommendation to the full board, who then would have the ultimate say on the direction that we move.
We'd be happy to toy with you whether you dissolve the other committee or not, okay? But I understand the jurisdictional aspects of this.
Yes, so
So who was with us last time we did this, when you and I were there? Who else was there?
myself, former trustee Paraskiva, his father, Mr. John Paraskiva. So, so there were four of us.
So I want to point out that our contract with the architect was based on an RFP that we did, and we chose them as the district architect to do all projects that we're doing.
That helps a lot. And that's really the boxes I want to see us check when we go into these. Does this require an RFP? In this case, the answer is no, here's why. And then we move on. Or if it does require an RFP, what's that? Done.
But as far as the advisory committee, I don't want that piece to get lost.
Let's not move off of that. I think you're right. I think it might make sense to fold it into the financial advisory committee if that has a larger attendance.
I was
So-
gonna say to come.
Yes,
see what
and
that
actually,
does.
I think Mr. Silver and I also mentioned, we discussed that possibility. The only thing with that, so I had asked you your opinion, if we rolled it into the, trustee Wise mentioned the regular budget committee, which has a much better attendance, do we think that those people would go to the transportation facility and tour it? And I know you said you didn't.
I didn't
Really
think
think
so,
so.
but we have a great turnout for that meeting, every time we have that meeting. I
Yeah,
mean,
so
people
even
are
if it's
interested in the
subset two,
budget.
It's more than four, hopefully.
You might get more of an interest if people know that they're gonna be voting on something in May.
Mhm.
So I mean,
That's true.
educated voters are, you know.
That's true, but the board has yet to approve
Okay.
going ahead with anything. And we can't tell them there's gonna be a vote until the board says, okay, we're gonna put this in front of you.
Yeah.
Then we can do all of that.
With the possibility that it may come up. I'm just trying to.
So what I would recommend, and we could explore that option, we could dissolve that, or, ask the board as a whole, or it could be our committee's recommendation to dissolve the transportation committee. We could recommend, and see if there's interest in the budget advisory committee being willing to look at this. But just going back to, it puts us in a funny position with taking a recommendation of one or two people.
And we also don't have, I don't believe we have a board member on the budget advisory committee, do we?
I don't think it was filled after trustee Paraskiva's term expired.
Because that's the first time there's been no board members at a
Sorry, I couldn't
Saturday.
make it.
Well,
all right.
Are you on that committee?
I was on that since
Yes.
I've been actual,
Oh.
I was on since the startup.
So we
And I
could pick
did
was the
make the
board
first
You were
one.
there for the first meeting. weren't you?
Yes.
Oh,
I
that's-
wasn't able to make it this Saturday. I apologize.
No, that's fine. It was a good turnout, and Superintendent and I and Marissa, we had a really good meeting there, so.
Would the committee be okay with making that recommendation to the full board to dissolve it, and also we can ask the budget committee if they're willing to have that interest and take that on?
I would support that.
Otherwise, we can look at, like I said, we can go out there. We're gonna have to go out there
Yep.
too again, and we do go out there for the communities, that's interested. We usually hold one meeting per year there, just like we hold one meeting per year at each of our schools, at least at minimum. We've toured that facility numerous times, so we're familiar with it. Okay, so we'll make
I
that
would
full
support that.
recommendation.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Silver, the last piece, if you could do it in 60 seconds or less, the upgrade for radios for buses. I'm sorry, I know
We can
we're,
try again. So we discovered that Goosetown is on a contract with the Office of Government Services, a 10-year contract that began in 2019.
Mhm.
So this is a state contract to provide the the exact services here. This proposal does not call for purchasing anything, it's only upgrading the software and the equipment. It's not actually any new equipment. So this is, $1,600 a month more than we're currently spending to be able to upgrade these radios so that they will work through the cell service anywhere. And so right now, our buses, if they get more than a few miles away, we can't contact them at all. We can only contact one bus at a time. And so if something goes sideways, we have no ability to contact them. These radios, the same radios we have, upgraded, will reach them at any distance. And so we think this is good. We've satisfied that it's a government contract through the Office of Government Services in Albany. And they've been our provider for many years.
At least 10 years.
At least 10 years.
Just to,
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, just to check the box and make sure. This would also, in addition to service, solve our multi-channel issue
Yes.
where not everybody would have to sit and wait.
Right. It
Okay.
provides one additional channel,
Okay.
but two is a lot better than one.
Oh, no, I get it. I just wanted to make sure that that was also still addressed.
So
And
I don't know that this needs to go to the board. I mean, it's $1,600 a month more for a service contract that we already have.
Did you get an RFP? Just
This is-
kidding.
I do have a question. So you mentioned this uses the cellular network.
Yes.
I assume it also uses radio when devices are in range?
Correct.
Yes.
And I only ask because one of our campuses has very poor cell reception.
Correct.
So,
Yeah,
It has
yes,
a
that is overcome
redundancy.
with this.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't think this requires any more action.
I think we
Order
should-
to you, we're just extending our contract with this company. I think this is done with your approval.
Would we like to give them the time that they need to decide that?
Sure,
Mhm.
whatever.
I don't want to
We
rush
can,
it.
yeah, we'll put it on our
And-
following committee agenda.
And this way, we could finalize
Mhm.
our decision-making then, because it's just not fair at 6:30.
Excellent.
Good.
All right?
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, for all the great research and discussions that went into this meeting. It's very much appreciated, and we will see you in 2 weeks at our next committee meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I just had somebody else say, can you give it to me?
You know what I'm saying? Like, so that part.